Today, the House will finally vote to force the release of the Jeffrey Epstein files from the Justice Department. President Trump now says that he will sign that bill if it reaches his desk. It is quite a 180 and reversal from the stance that he had just a few days ago and held for many, many months. Republican leaders were bracing last week for many Republican members to vote in support of the files. And now, with Trump's blessing, it's expected to receive even more Republican support. What are the numbers behind this? CNN's Harry Enton is running the numbers for you on this. Why were Republicans willing, from the numbers that you see, on this one to go against what Donald Trump wanted?
You know, usually Donald Trump has his pulse on the Republican base, but he did not on this issue. Because what are we talking about, Kate Baldwin? Well, GOP on the Epstein files, approve of Trump. We're used to seeing approval of Trump among Republicans being 85, 90%. But when it came to the Epstein files, look at this, just 44%, south of 50% of Republicans actually approved on Donald Trump when it came to the Epstein files. Compare that to this. What was the percentage of Republicans that wanted all of the Epstein files released? 67%. So what we were dealing with is simple mathematics. The Republican base was against Donald Trump on the Epstein files. They were with the idea of releasing them. The Republican representatives saw that and therefore were not afraid to go against Donald Trump, because this was the rare instance in which the Republican base was not with Donald Trump. They were actually with the idea of being against Donald Trump.
Which begs the question, right? Why? Some people say it was because Trump is in the files. A couple of things. One, I don't think there are going to be any files. I don't think anything is actually going to be released. If you honestly believe that there's anything of substance in this treasure trove of documentation that was going to be put out there, I mean, you're delusional. It's never going to happen. There's never going to be anything. There's never going to be a bomb dropped. It's not going to happen. But this still begs the question: why? Could be one of two reasons. One, I have my personal view is, I think that he always knew this was going to be the end result. That the files, quote unquote, files, will be released. I think what he needed to do is buy time. He needed to buy time. I think he did it in a very bad way, in a poor way. He knew that his base was for this. He was just trying to, as much as he could, downplay it. He just did it in the absolute wrong way that just added more fuel to the fire. I think obviously that there's going to be some influential people that he is a fan of, that are in his circle, that are amongst his group of friends or allies, or people that he needs leverage over, that he just needed to scrub whatever was left, because I'm sure there was almost nothing left. But in the event that something got released and it hurt somebody that he needed or cared about or whatever, most likely needed, that he would tell them, listen, we're taking care of this. This is on a separate side. This is a separate drop. We still hold this over you. Right now, you really need to be thanking me, because I'm going to keep this off to the side. That's the only thing that makes logical sense to me, because he knew this was going to be an issue. He knew this was going to be a fight. I think what probably ultimately happened was, once he stepped into the role and started digging down and people started saying, hey, look at this stuff that we have here, he was probably like, shit, like some of the stuff we're going to have to go through this with a fine tooth comb before they actually force our hand to release this stuff, all this information. So I think that even though the majority of it was probably already scrubbed by whichever intel agencies were working this, again, I knew people that were involved in the raids, and there was definitely a lot of information, a lot of intel that was gathered. But you're not getting any black books. You're not getting, that's not happening. If you're running an intel operation where you're using individuals and you're using video and you're using files and you're using data for blackmail, you're not going to leave that in an apartment somewhere. You're not going to leave that in the compound where it's going down. All that stuff is probably going to be offshore. Like, it's not going to be there. Maybe it gets recorded there. Maybe it gets recorded on site. Maybe you'll have a couple of little scraps on site. But then as soon as that gets brought in to either the Southern District or whoever's doing the prosecution, that's going to get all parsed out. Intel agencies are going to step in and they're going to say, hey, what do you got? You got to show us that right now, because it's a matter of national security, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Choose whatever phrase you have to use if you're a massive intel agency, just to come into a the DOJ say, listen, we have massive issues with some of this evidence. We have to go through it all. I'm sure it was all gone through. And I'm sure anything that was needed, anything that was necessary, anything that had to just disappear has been long gone. And then after Trump got into office, he sits down and said, listen, we're going to release the files. Everyone wants to release the files. And then probably a few things came through the door that didn't look very good. And they're like, we really got to go through all this stuff before. So he tried to suppress it. It didn't work. He did a really bad job on that. You're not going to hear me say anything different. Like, it was obvious from the get-go that his base was totally against what he was saying and how he was doing this. So he just should have just kept quiet. He should have just given a boilerplate answer, say, listen, it's an ongoing investigation. When we get to it, when we can release it, we'll release it, and that's all we're going to say on that. That's all it should have been. This is a Democratic hoax or whatever. That was totally the wrong way to go about this. It just added more fuel to the fire. It made people question it even more. It made him look like it was just so poor. It was the most poorly mishandled situation. He couldn't have done any worse on this issue. Him and his administration. It was just shit from beginning to end since he got into office. He just threw so much fuel on this fire that could have just been tamped down with a very simple. It's a lot of information. We're going through it. We'll get it out as soon as we can. That's it. That's all he had to do. Simple boilerplate answer.
And releasing the Epstein files.
And one way that you have long been able to kind of gauge, at least if people are really interested.
If you're still here, all I ask is to subscribe to the channel. That's the only thing I ask for. I don't ask for a like. I don't ask for a share. I don't ask for a comment. Just please subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much.
In something is how you're gauging on Google searches. What is that showing?
Yeah, what is that showing? You know, back in July, there was this idea, there was this push, right, to release the Epstein files. And Mike Johnson said, you know what? I'm sending the House home. Adios, amigos, goodbye. There was interest in it, but not to the degree that we're seeing right now. Okay, Google searches for Jeffrey Epstein versus a week ago, up nearly 1,200%. That we have seen more searches over the last 5-day period for Jeffrey Epstein than any 5-day period this entire year, much more so than we saw even in July. And more than that, the top associated search topic with Jeffrey Epstein was Donald Trump. This problem, simply put, was not going away. So what you were dealing with was many Republicans unhappy with how Trump was dealing with the Epstein files, many Republicans wanting those Epstein files released, and more than that, it was climbing the interest levels, so it wasn't going away. So all of a sudden, the Republican representatives are saying, jailbreak time, adios amigos, we're going to leave Donald Trump, we are going to vote to release those files, long before Donald Trump even said, you know what, you should release them all.
What are you seeing in terms of what people think really are the chances that the files will be released now?
Okay, so we're going to hold this House vote, right? And we expect that a lot of House Republicans are going to say release them. But there is still a problem insofar as getting them released. That is, one of the biggest problems is the United States Senate. They may not even vote on it. And so here we go. This is, I think, a good sort of baseline understanding of will Donald Trump actually release any more Epstein files before the end of his second term. On Saturday, it was 50%. Now Trump says, you know, we should release them all. If a bill gets to my desk, I would sign it. But even so, it's still 72%. So majority chance that we will see more Epstein files. I think it's a good use of the prediction markets because it's conventional wisdom baseline where people are putting their money. But it's still far less than 100% because, hey, look, we got to still wait and see if the United States Senate.
And Thomas Massie made an excellent point on this. You know, when he stated that, listen, guys, you are going to be on the record now. You're going to be on the record. Trump is going to be out of office come 2030. There's going to be a new president in town. There's going to be a new mayor. And there's, you know, the new sheriff going to be coming to town. Whoever that may be. Do you actually want to be on the record of holding files that are quote unquote, helping pedos or whatever it is? You know, helping sex predators. Do you want to be on the record for that? Because that would be a disaster. Like, you want to talk about going into the midterms, going into 2030, going into 2032. With that hanging over your head, I don't think a lot of people could sustain a re-election campaign when you're just going to be browbeaten with that over and over and over again. It is a concerning issue, and it should be for many people, for many representatives. And this is another reason why I think Trump is feeling the heat, feeling the pressure, understanding he has to pivot on this issue. He should have pivoted on the issue a long time ago. You know, he should have, again, made it just a non-issue. If he would have just made it a non-issue from the start, and all he had to do with that was just downplay it. All he had to do with that is just give his boilerplate answer. But he went after the people that wanted it released, calling it a Democratic hoax. That was the worst thing he could have done. Now, the writing's on the wall. Midterms are coming down. You're gonna have this vote in the House. He has to now pivot and say, okay, release it. I'll sign it. It's good to go, because he understands that the representatives going to him and they're saying this is going to come to pass. We're going to have to. I'm going to have to sit down and vote on this. Like, I need your backing on this because I have to do it. I'm not going to be able to go up against a primary challenger when I said I didn't want this stuff released. It's just I mean, you're killing yourself. Like, you're committing suicide. It's political suicide. I think he realized that, and that's why he shifted at this point now, and hopefully, you know, this will all get released, whatever is left of it.
Actually gets a vote on this.
Yeah, there's a lot that still does need to happen before that's a sure thing. It's good to see you, Harry. Thank you so much. John.
All right, with us now is Lisa Bloom, a victims' rights attorney who has represented 11 Epstein survivors. Lisa, good to see you. We are expecting to hear from a group of survivors up on Capitol Hill very shortly in advance of this House vote. Wondering if you have a sense of how the survivor community is feeling now, because a lot has happened in just the last week between the emails that came out, this sudden reversal from the president, this imminent House vote. What's the feeling in the community?
Well, Thanks, John. I can tell you that the 11 very brave women who I've been representing since 2019 are really suffering as this is thrown around like a political football, and all they have ever wanted was accountability and transparency. Release the files, redact the name of the survivors, and let's have accountability for everybody who was involved with this predator.
So accountability, and you say they are still suffering because it's being used as a political football. I want to play for you how the president said he would handle it if this bill does reach his desk. Listen.
I'm all for it. You know, we've already given 50,000 pages. You do know that. They can do whatever they want. We'll give them everything. Sure, I would. Let the Senate look at it. Let anybody look at it. But don't talk about it too much because, honestly, I don't want to take it away from us.
But don't talk about it too much because I don't want it to take away from us. And what struck me there is because of what you were saying before. The survivors feel like they're being dragged through a political morass right now.
I mean, listen, say what you want about Trump. What he's saying there, they're gonna spin it basically in a way where he's like spitting on the faces of the victims. He's just saying, all right, enough already. He's the one that caused that problem, though. He's the one that created the situation. He's the one that created the fire shitstorm that it currently is right now. You know, he shouldn't have talked about it. He should have just said, we have a massive investigation. I mean, at this point now, there's nothing but to talk about it. It's just one of those things where I don't know. Even if he would come out right now and say, listen, I handled this poorly in the past. I just want to get past it. Whatever they do, I will sign it. I don't have no problem with getting the files out as soon as they go through it all. That's all he needed to say and just go forward. They're going to spin it like he's being insensitive or whatever, which, I mean, who cares? He's the president of the United States. You honestly think he's going to sit there and care about every little nuanced thing that's going on right now? He's trying to, balance the entire world. But, the problem was created by him, though. I mean, let's be honest. As much as I like him, as much as I like a lot of the things that he's doing, this was an issue that was totally manufactured within Trump's mind. And it just, the things that he said are what exacerbated the situation beyond anything that anyone would have even thought of had he just given a regular answer in the very beginning and not said it was a hoax and not said anything like that. Just said, we're working on it. We'll get it to you. That's it. That's all he needed to do.
Now.
I mean, look, does anyone really think that Donald Trump cares about sexual assault victims? This is a man that a jury found liable for sexual assault a few years ago. He said very recently that the release of the files was a Democratic hoax and a hostile act. He tried to get a congresswoman to flip. That didn't work. If Donald Trump really cared and really wanted the files released, he could order that on his own without Congress. But he's continuing to play political games, and the trauma of the victims continues.
With the revelations, and I use that word not with a capital R, but with what has been revealed in the last week inside the emails there, you've been involved with these cases for a long time. How much more information do you think there is that will come to light?
Listen, we've been surprised each time there has been a release. I mean, Epstein is now speaking from the grave and pointing a finger at Donald Trump, saying in the recent release that Trump spent time alone with one of the victims for hours, that Jeffrey Epstein could finish Donald Trump, take him down. In one of the tapes, Epstein said that he was Donald Trump's best friend for 10 years. So these are really striking revelations. We can only imagine what's going to come next. But instead of the drip, drip, drip of the release of documents that continues to re-traumatize the survivors, let's release it all. Let the advocates like me pour over it, and we can go after anybody else who is accountable. There should be congressional investigations. I mean, the release of the files is only just the beginning. That's what we, on behalf of the survivors, are hoping.
Just in terms of the emails that were released, the name that was redacted from those files where Jeffrey Epstein said that Donald Trump had spent a lot of time with one of the survivors. Republicans have said that redacted name was Virginia Giuffre, who has taken her own life now, but she had consistently said that Donald Trump did nothing wrong with her. That said, it was there in the emails. You used the term drip, drip, drip of information there. It is interesting because things continue to come out piecemeal. You think it would be different if it were all out at once. Why?
Absolutely, because again, we're talking about real human beings. I mean, the 11 victims who I represent are everyday people who are still dealing with the trauma, the substance abuse, the problems in their relationships, depression. You mentioned Virginia Giuffre, suicidality. They're trying to move on and live their lives. We were able to fight for and get for them substantial compensation against the Epstein estate and against JP Morgan, the bank that was found to have been complicit. But they can't move on. Every time they look at the news and they see there's more information that's coming to light. So that's why we need to get this done. We need to get full accountability for anybody who's involved.
I mean, listen, it's her cash cow for now. So she's doing the right thing. Doesn't mean it has to be for the right reasons, but that's how lawyers, that's how they go. That's how anybody goes, right? People do things for their own self-interest, which is, it's obviously to be expected. But on this particular issue, it seems like they've already gotten quite a substantial settlement from either the Epstein fund account or whoever is the account holder of the Epstein estate, J.P. Morgan Chase, which she just mentioned. But yeah, so when it comes to there are opposing sides here, right? There are lawyers that are going to make a massive amount of money because there's a ton of money there just sitting there. Obviously, there are political actors that are going to use this to further their political aspirations, political careers, and then there are the victims in the middle that are just trying to lean on whoever side is going to help them, knowing that most likely the side that's helping them doesn't necessarily give a shit, but at least they know that they can come out better on the other side, whether it's through compensation, whether it's through just justice, whether it's through recognition, whatever they need for this thing to happen. But in the end, they want the people to be held accountable that did whatever horrible things that they did. And I still go back to the saying that if this was just a standard honeypot operation with a blackmail, any of those girls that are of the age of consent, I honestly, I really don't care. Like, I don't care. Like, if you're at the age of consent, then it is what it is. Like, I don't know what else to tell you. Maybe that sounds harsh. Sorry. Obviously, if you were brought into this at a younger age, then that is, I think we should just go balls to the wall. I have a delineation, right? If you're at the age of consent and you're an adult and you're partaking in this, it is what it is. Like, if you want to say that they coerced you or whatever, I really don't know. Were you compensated for what happened, right? But if you were quote unquote a child in the legal sense, then yeah, I think there should be no stone left unturned. The people that do that should still be prosecuted to this day. If that'll ever happen, not really sure. I don't think we'll ever know. But guys, thank you so much for joining me. If you want to, please 6283 Talk on the X. If you want to follow me on X, this is SotoCast. I am John Soto. See you in the next video. Take care, guys.